Welcome to Quit to Win, the show where we explore the moments people have to let go of destructive pattern, limiting identity, and the internal battle to rebuild their life with purpose and clarity. Our today's guest is Nancy Dunham, a journalist, author, and creator of the Bonus Track, a community and a body of work built on the life lessons she has gathered from decades of interviewing musicians and artists, and on the harder wisdom that she has found inside her own midlife manatee party. She's a widow who watches her head the husband died suddenly, survivor of years of childhood spent in hospital with a critically ill parent, generally bullying, and a half sister who once pushed her close to the edge. And through all of it, she kept interviewing other people about their life while taking her time to face her own. The turning points and the turning point are what made staying no longer an option in our world, the change in structure. It's really a pleasure to honor having the show, Nancy.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nancy. So, Nancy, you have said that when you were a kid, you wanted to be anyone but yourself. What were you running from? And how did becoming a journalist or someone paid to focus on other people's stories help you keep running?
It's funny, I am watching a BBC show called The Other Bennett Sister, and I feel great empathy with her because all her sisters were beautiful and polished and talented, and my two sisters were the same, beautiful and polished and talented, and I never was. I was a bit of boy, a bit of a this, a bit of a that. My mom was always in the hospital with some dire illness for months on end, you know. And it's funny because I'm 5'4" tall, and I got my height early, and kids made fun of me. You know how it is with kids. You're
Yeah,
either
yeah,
short, you have acne, you have weird hair. I mean, there's always something they
yeah.
find you don't like. So what I did is, I really immersed myself in music. Fortunately, because I had two sisters, they were always listening to everything from the Beatles to Tom Rush to Joan Baez to all of the classics there in the 60s
Yeah.
and 70s. So I sort of immersed myself in that and listened to the music and tried to imagine myself in those roles. As weird as this sounds, it's funny. I start my book by saying I was a weird kid, and I was. I kind of immersed
Yeah.
in those stories to show where I could go with that, how I could
Mm.
develop my life, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And also, you have spent years interviewing musicians and artists, getting at the truth in other people's life. What did you have to quit performing, the curious journalist and the reliable professional, before your own story could surface, honestly?
I really always wanted to do something. I wasn't musically talented at all. And I just felt if I could talk to musicians and people
Yeah,
involved in the music industry, it would be interesting because not only could I get the stories behind the songs, and this is be careful what you wish for because sometimes it didn't live up to my
yeah,
expectations, but bonus tracks. It didn't live
yeah.
up to expectations, but I also talked to them because they live their lives publicly. And I found out how they overcame challenges, and that was helpful as well.
Yeah, it's a kind of interviewing them, getting to see how they overcome public. That actually gets to helping you too. It's amazing. And also, you grow up spending years in the hospital with a critically ill parent.
Yes.
What did that early season teach you about holding things together, and what did it quietly teach you to suppress in order to do that?
Thanks for asking that. Yeah, it's really weird because my mom, from the time I was before kindergarten, was in the hospital, and I had a job, and my job was to hold the door open so the ambulance workers could go in and put her on a stretcher and take her out. And it really, I think I threw myself into that arena in a way because when I was a kid, I saw so much of the hospitals. And I actually, when I was at a newspaper, became a police reporter. So it's almost like the thing you're afraid you face. And it's a bad thing what it taught me. It was really a bad thing because as a journalist, you have to be removed. It's almost like being an emergency worker where you can't get personally involved in things or you're not effective. You can't do your job. Well, I became so removed that it bottled everything up inside of me.
Hmm.
And, that has to come out at some point, right? So type A and crazy, and I was not a very nice person, to be honest with you. And when people would tell me tragic things, I just say, uh-huh, okay. And then, I'm waiting for the next quote instead of
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was not a good thing what it taught me. Yeah.
Oh, that was really a whole lot. Especially when you just make episodes that just demand that. Oh, that's true. That's what your work demand. You just have to keep creating stories and not being personal with those stories. It's really a whole lot to get to PM, a whole lot of bottle dance. And also
It
losing your husband's, yeah,
Yeah. I was just gonna say, and you see a lot of that today. You see a lot of people, with the driving, the road rage, or with just the horrible impatience of people. And I guess I beat the crowd because I was like that before.
yeah,
And now it seems like the norm, and it's so sad. But anyway, please go ahead.
yeah, amazing. Losing your husband suddenly without warning is a structural collapse, the shape of your daily life, or your future, your sense of what next, all gone at once out. What did you have to quit reaching for? The old routine, the identity, or before you would begin to find out who you were without the structure.
You're absolutely right. It's funny because I wrote something and I said, you don't just lose the person, you lose the history that you've had together.
Yeah,
Even with friends, if you're not married or whatever, and your friend moves to wherever or, whatever, you lose those inside jokes, that knowledge, that
yeah,
well, knowledge about you. You lose all of that. And that is the hardest thing about it is that isn't you anymore. And you don't have that stability or that continuity in your life. And I'm embarrassed to say that my old training from when I was a kid kicked in. And I remember the police there while the paramedics were working on my husband. He had a massive heart attack very suddenly. And they said, "Wow, you're really calm." And I said, "Well, I have to be, because I know that your person is dying. What are you supposed to do?
yeah,
Like, a crazy person and be yelling and screaming? I mean, somebody has to be, right? Someone has to be calm. So I think what I learned is that you can't, and everyone knows this is obvious, but you're not the same person you were. But the thing is, like any trauma, but I had some weird traumas, but everybody has different traumas. They lose their house, lose their job, they have financial problems. A child is estranged. They have all kinds of things, but you really need to say, okay, at the core, who am I? And how do I want to reshape my life? It's
yeah,
hard. It's hard for all of us. Like I tell everybody, it doesn't have to be as dramatic as mine. I'm drinking coffee one minute and the next minute I'm doing CPR on my husband.
yeah,
But, people have horrible things happen all the time, and you just have to try to stay on course. And I didn't. I didn't for a long time. I made all kinds of stupid mistakes with people I dated, with money I spent, with different things. And I finally just woke up and said, God, Nancy, come on. Who are you? And so I mean, this was not some tragedy. I wasn't sick.
yeah.
But it was not me. And so I guess the point is, I wish that in retrospect, I had taken a step back and tried to reconfigure my life before I tried to cover the hurt with other relationships and other things like that.
Yeah, amazing. Really, really a whole lot in here. Having to lose someone, not just the loss of the person alone, the history and everything alongside with it, the memories and a whole lot of stuff. And it doesn't go away by actually more like using other things to cover it up. You just have to sit down and ask yourself some tough questions and then be able to kind of, yeah, it's really, really a whole lot. So what is the lesson that chaos taught you? Those particular moments, that a more orderly life never could have.
Gosh, what did it teach me? Well, it reinforced that I've always been very independent, and it taught me that I can reach out to people and that they will be helpful. Not all the time. They're not going to take the place of your person if your tragedy is,
Yeah,
estrangement, separation, death, whatever. But you can reach out to people. And I really hadn't done a lot of that before. And so that taught me that. It also taught me that, just slow down a little and just think, is this really the path I want to take? I mean, it's so basic, but it's true. And, when Wayne died, my husband died, I looked everywhere for a guidance. And it was all the stuff you hear all the time. Don't move for a year, do this, do that. And
yeah,
I think your podcast is so valuable because you take people who have had, failures, if you will, for
yeah,
lack better word. And you talk about
Yeah.
winning, and I think that's just brilliant, and I didn't even have a job when my husband died. I was doing freelance writing, and by some miracle, I was recruited to work for a place called Ward's Auto, which is a big international publication about cars and car dealers and all of that.
Mm.
So, I mean, things did fall into place, but I had to keep my eye open and be receptive to them. And I think it's very hard to do that when you're in any kind of grief or despair.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. You
Very
have to
kind.
sit.
I feel
Yeah.
like I'm giving you platitudes, and I don't want to do that. I want to tell you honestly what I did.
Yeah. Amazing. You have to sit with yourself and being able to kind of look deeply. Yeah, it's really, really a whole lot. And also, you have your interview with musicians became more nuanced as you face your own stories up. What changes in how you listen to people once you stop being able to hide behind the professional distance?
Think that I really started to empathize more. I think that I was, I'll give you an example. One very well known woman singer was very upset. Her child was ill. And I said, "Oh, you guys are doing a great job, caring for him." And she said, "We're not doing a great job. I'm doing a great job." Her husband's a musician too. And she said, "He's not even involved." And I was just, this is before Wayne died. I was just like
Yeah.
an pilot. I wasn't really listening. I was like, "Okay, and my next question is," and I think
Yeah.
that even at my advanced age, I had to learn that, you need, there's a person there too. This isn't just someone you're interviewing.
Yeah.
And I became a lot more empathetic. Became a lot calmer, a lot less type A,
Mm.
if you will. Yeah. So I tried not to let people down. I tried to be a better friend, a better person. Journalists aren't like that. We are very independent. We're very type A. I told somebody, we interrupt each other all the time. Somebody's talking. We're like, "No, no, no, that's not."
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah.
and I tried to break out of that mold. So yes, I'm a journalist. I'm very proud of it, but I'm also Nancy.
Yeah, amazing, being empathetic, and yeah, it's amazing. And also, you talk about the fragility and values of trust as one of the real perspective your experience has given you. What did you have to quit trusting in people, in plan, in ideas of a predictable future?
It's funny, I watch a lot of true crime things because, again, I was a crime reporter for about 10 years. And it's funny, trusting is a great idea, but also you have to be careful. I mean, because there's so many cons out there now, right? There's so many crazy people who are conning people. And so I guess my bonus track is an old phrase, which is trust but verify. I trusted
Mhm.
people way too fast after Wayne died, and it was stupid of me, and I knew better than that, so I had to right myself. Does that answer your—
Yeah, just to verify it. It's amazing. Being that there are a whole lot of different ideas and different philosophy out there.
Well,
Yeah,
and
it's really key.
we're good at fooling you, and again, this is not my experience, but you just have to look at all of these online scams, and people, unfortunately, with the internet and so forth, are very good at that, and if I didn't grow up with the internet, I know it's hard to believe I'm a little older, and so it's something you can really fall into, and so, yeah, trust but verify, and just know what path you want. Don't let people, I was letting people guide me on different paths, and again, nothing tragic. I don't wanna make
Yeah,
this like, "Oh, and I was held in prison for—" It was
yeah,
nothing. Yeah, but I just was going down paths I didn't wanna go down, and I knew better than that.
yeah. Amazing, amazing. Once
Wayne,
again,
obviously, was
trust.
the love of my life. I hope I was the love of his. We trusted each other. We had each other's backs. We were life partners. These people aren't life partners.
Yeah, yeah. Being able to differentiate between life partner and yeah,
That
that of yeah, trusted person. Yeah, amazing. And also, the musicians and artists you have interviewed has given you what you call a bonus track, the wisdom that didn't make the main album. What is the single piece of that collected wisdom that matters most in your own life now?
Be true to yourself.
Mm.
So many people, I've had a bad experience. I'll give you an example with a friend. a friend who always, this sounds ridiculous when I tell you because you're thinking, why didn't you run away? But, I'd spend an evening with her and she'd spend the time on the phone talking to some guy. This is not that long ago. This is like 5 years ago. Somebody she didn't even know. Or she'd say, gee, did you lose weight? I have a bathroom scale. Do you want to check? Or she would just be, really disparaging. And so my bonus track is be true to myself and take toxicity out of your life whenever you can. Sometimes things just end. We were situational friends, and that was fine then, but sometimes things just end and you need to let them end. So that's my
Yeah.
bonus track.
Yeah. Be true to yourself and take toxicity out of
Yes,
your life.
yes.
Man.
Be
Yeah.
true to
And I think
yourself.
this is very key, being that life is already hard. You don't need more hardness. You just have to filter it and know what you actually allow in it. This is, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, well, one I didn't want it to be anyone but myself was my mom, my sisters. Even when my mom was out of the hospital, they were always criticizing me and trying to push me down roads that I didn't want to go down and stuff because they thought they knew the right thing. And I'm not saying I was brilliant at age 7, but I'm saying it wasn't the right road for me. And even my
Yeah.
mom, I did an essay for a woman's magazine. I said, and my husband's friends got a real laugh out of it because the headline was, "My mom pushed me to marry the wrong person." And it wasn't him. But you can imagine. So yeah,
Yeah.
just be, know what you want.
Yeah.
Don't, it's like the song lyric goes, don't let them tell you what you want to be.
Yeah. Don't let them tell you what you want to be. Be true to yourself. Yeah.
Exactly.
Stay authentic. So for someone listening at home who is in the middle of their own structural collapse right now, a lost sudden ending, life no longer has the shape it had. What is the first thing they need to quit reaching?
I think the thing you need to understand or quit searching for is to replicate what you had before. I have a good,
Mm,
and he dated many, 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 many women right after his wife died because he was trying to replicate what he had. And it took him a long time, but he came like 2 or 3 years, but he came to the conclusion. And what I said to him, and like most men, he didn't listen. What he did later was, that's a wonderful thing. And you were lucky to have that long, very loving relationship, but that's over. Okay. You're not going to replicate it. And I
yeah.
think same when you lose your way. I have a good friend who, through a series of incidents, lost her job and was ridiculed publicly. And it was horrible, horrible. But she reinvented herself. She said, okay, I can't go back to this because my reputation is ruined. What else would I like to do? And now she's in graduate school getting a totally different, take
Mm,
on life and so forth. So I think there's a lot of things like that. And it sounds easy because people are listening to me and thinking, "Oh, there's this white privileged woman." It hasn't always been that way. I've lived in tenement. I've not had money for food. I really worked hard. I'm not from a wealthy background. I worked really hard for what I had. I'd work 3 and 4 jobs. And I'm not saying get out the violin because I'm so,
yeah.
I mean, people have a lot worse backgrounds than I have. But I'm just saying that you need to the best of your ability, know where you want to go.
Mm,
And I mean, I'm not as high up in journalism as I hoped I would be. I mean, I'm not. But the bottom line is I did the best I could. I made the best decisions I could at the time that I made them. So that's where I'm at. I try not to have regrets. I do regret a couple things, but I try not to
yeah.
have regrets. I try
To
to
stay
just
with it for long.
kind of move ahead. I'm going to learn from it. I'm moving ahead.
Learn from it other than dwelling on it. And yeah, move ahead. Reinvent yourself.
Hard not to. It's hard not to dwell on it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was the original. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. So lastly, what is the bonus track from your own life that turned out to be the most important one?
Golly, besides the ones I've already mentioned, I would just say let people into your life. I mean, again, trust but verify, but let people in.
All
People
right.
stunned.
I thought that is from,
I
yeah.
moved across the country after my husband died, and people were just stunned. And it was hard for me because I didn't know anybody here, but I just felt I needed to reinvent my life. And yes, I let some people into my life that, in retrospect, was a bad idea. But I learned from that. And I've got people here now who are my friends actually putting in a sound system for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are a lot of good people out there still. So I would say that's a bonus track.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Trust, but verify. And also, there might be failures along the way, but you have to learn from it and move ahead with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. So where can my listener find the bonus track and join your community?
The best place is to go to Substack. It's Bonus Tracks by Nancy. Or they can always email me at bonustracksbynancy@gmail.com and I'll send them to where they want, writing or blogs or podcast or
Yeah.
whatever they would like. It has been such an honor to be on this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Nancy. And yeah, thank you for a reminder that the most important interview we ever do is the one with ourselves. That the bonus track ups often where the real music live. It's exactly what this audience needed to hear. My audience would love to reach out to the Substack and the various places as you just mentioned. Check the show note and you see the link how to easily reach out to her. Yeah, and remember that clinging to a structure that's already gone is never a safe option. Finding out who you are without it is. Yeah, we thank you so much once again. Pleasure and honor having you.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you again for the invitation.